So, in this section, we'll share with you the principle of government based on traditional Chinese culture. Now, understanding Confucius' political ideology in democracy is very helpful to modern political thinking, and also Confucius' government principle has considerable implication in both economic and corporate management. According to Confucius, the external form of government is monarchical. That is the external structure. But the fundamental principle of that is, in fact, democratic. There's a lot of evidence to show that in the ideal government of Confucius, the sovereign power is in the hands of the people. But look, we must understand the concept of democracy in much more detail. The democracy advocated by Confucius is not equivalent to pure populism. Is not. The concept of pure populism is directly opposed to what is called elitism or oligarchy. Confucius democracy follows the middle way, or the natural way. And of course, Confucius teaches people to be loyal to their ruler or governor. However, honoring the ruler does not contradict the concept of democracy. This is because being loyal to the ruler is conditional on the ruler having the best character and talents. So, in fact, there is a harmony between loyalty and democracy. The harmony will happen when the government is a good one, right? And Confucius defined a good government in the following way. He said, when the prince loves what the people love and hates what the people hate, this is he who is called the parent of the people. Okay, now let's look at this sentence more carefully. Confucius described a good government as the parents of the people. So, when parents think about the children, they think about what is good for them, what is good in the long term, what is harmful in the long term. And some things are harmful in the long term, but seemingly exciting in the short term, right? So no parent would indulge the children with drugs, of course, even if the children may want them to. So a good government is not necessarily confined to simple populism, but has a duty to guide the people towards achieving true happiness. So in traditional culture, the true happiness is always based on the 5 human relations, as I have mentioned quite a few times now, and also based on the realization of the 5 moral constants. These principles are based on human nature, and they were simply discovered by the ancient sages. They were not invention by Confucius out of thin air. So the choice of the political structure of the government is only secondary. Let me repeat that. The choice of the political structure of a government is only secondary. And any good government can be a good government if it helps the people in the right direction. This particular concept of harmony between loyalty and democracy, I think it needs further explanation. So we'll come back to this point towards the end of this section. But let's break down the idea of democracy into several smaller topics. So this video and the coming 2 videos, okay? And then we find out what democracy really means. The first characteristic of democratic thinking is keeping the rulers in check. Even in ancient times, where the ruler was called the Son of God, Confucius didn't regard the ruler as sacred. In Confucius' philosophy, common people, like you and I, have equal right to be the king. Anybody can be the king. For example, in the Book of Changes, the chapter of evolution, Confucius said, "Heaven and earth are revolutionary, so that the four seasons complete their functions, and the revolution of Tang and Wu, which are King Tang and King Wu, right, were in accordance with the will of God and in response to the wishes of men. Great indeed is what takes place in a time of revolution." So, Tang refers to Shang Tang, and he was the sage's ruler who overthrew the last king of Xia dynasty, Xia Jie, if you remember. And Wu refers to King Wu, who overthrew the last king of Shang dynasty, Shang Zhou. So, both revolutions took place during a time of disorder and chaos, when the ruling class was not only disregarded the well-being of the people, but also very cruel and ferocious. Therefore, the revolution by Tang and Wu were not the act of a group of angry mobs, but the ones with righteousness, because Tang and Wu were righteous kings themselves. It is also been recorded by the Book of Han that Confucius pointed out very specifically that if there were no revolution, nothing could make the emperor and princess take precaution, and nothing could make the common people keep up their ambition. What are the ambitions? Well, these are the ambitions of the kings. So revolution is a necessary mechanism that keep the rulers in check. In fact, this mechanism is not, man-made. It's just part of natural order. Now, in Confucianism, a very important concept is called the three system. Now, you may recall that in chapter 1, we talked about the three stages. While the three stages is about the evolution of civilization and the progression of people's morality, the three systems emphasize the constant alternation between different forms of society. So this alternation automatically takes place when, the current system no longer fits for purpose. So in the Spring and Autumn Annals, as well as many other writings, Confucius described the changes from Xia dynasty to Shang dynasty, and then from Shang to Zhou, in order to remind people that the power of the Son of God, so-called, is not guaranteed, but it is granted by the people. So when governing method fits the people, the ruling families thrive. Otherwise, they are taken over. So, in the fear of losing power, the ruler must be extremely careful with their conduct.